Most people think that lots of cardio and massive calorie cutting is the best way to reduce their body fat. But that's not the most effective or sustainable strategy. As a coach with over 25 years of experience coaching people over 40, I'll show you how to do it right and the critical mistake people make that slows fat loss down. Your body fat percentage is the ratio of fat to everything else in your body: muscle, bone, organs, and fluids. You don't just want to weigh less, you're trying to improve your body composition. If you lose fat, but you also lose muscle, your body fat percentage may not improve much at all. You want to maintain or even build muscle while losing fat to improve your body composition. This becomes more important as we get older because once you hit around 40, you'll lose about 0.8 to 1% of your muscle mass each year if you're not doing anything to maintain it. That means even if you didn't put on fat, the loss of muscle mass could mean that your body fat percentage is going up gradually. And that's actually what a lot of people see as they get older. We definitely don't want that. Muscle is like the engine of your metabolism. It burns more energy than fat. So with higher muscle mass, you burn off slightly more calories all throughout the day. It helps you feel strong and move easier rather than dragging yourself around. So how do you build it? I'm going to show you the nutrition strategy you need for muscle building and fat loss a bit later. I've also put together a free nutrition guide for fat loss over 40, which you can get at the link in the description. But by far, the most important thing for muscle is resistance training. If your body doesn't get the stimulus, you won't build muscle. Now, if someone's been completely sedentary for a long time, almost anything is a form of strength training. Bodyweight squats, even push-ups on your knees will do something for muscles that haven't been doing anything. I often get asked if Pilates is considered resistance training because that seems to be popular again. Like I said, if you're a beginner, then almost anything will stimulate your muscles. But after a while, your muscles adapt and there isn't anywhere for you to go. I know you can add some resistance with the Pilates reformer machine, but that's still pretty limited. You mostly develop endurance, posture, and core control, but it's not for strength, which happens in lower rep ranges. So it's a higher absolute percentage of your maximum. It's similar for yoga or the more basic calisthenics because after months and years, you need to push yourself into more and more challenging exercises to get a new stimulus to challenge your muscles. Because to keep stimulating your muscles to grow, you need to use progressive resistance training. Let's talk about what progressive means because most people in the gym aren't doing it properly. It's not just about adding weight all the time because once you've been training for many years, you won't be able to keep doing that, or it will only be very incremental increases. For a simple standing biceps curl, you can start by just bending the arm in front of you. Maybe you do 3 sets of 10 reps with 10 pounds. Once that's too easy, you move on to 12 pounds, then 15 pounds, then 20 pounds, then 25 pounds, and so on. The easiest progression is just to add more weight. Maybe you've done that for a long enough time and you change your program to include a hammer curl instead and you rotate your hand and do that movement upward. That's also a way of progressing. You're changing the exercise so it stimulates the same muscle group but in a different way. When you first start doing a particular exercise, let's say a squat now, if you've never done that exercise before or you haven't done it for a long time, you could just do 20 bodyweight squats and that would be enough to give your leg muscles a stimulus. Maybe you do squats a couple of times a week, exactly the same way. Normally after 6 to 8 weeks, maybe 12 weeks if you're a total beginner, your muscles adapt. And there's a few ways you can make this progressive now and move up. You can turn this into a goblet squat so that you're adding weight and you keep increasing the weight of that as you get stronger. You do that for another 6 to 8 weeks, and then maybe you do a dumbbell squat with dumbbells at your sides. Or you move on to a barbell back squat. Maybe it's only the bar at the beginning, so you learn to balance, and then you work your way up gradually with the weight. So how do you figure out when to move up with your weight? Well, let's go back to the biceps curl for a second. Say you're starting off with the 10 pounds and you're doing those curls and you're aiming for 10 reps. You should always be trying to push further than those 10 reps. Just to see where you're at and where your strength is at. So if you're using that 10-pound weight in each hand and you keep curling and you can go to like 14, 15, then you know that you need to move up to the next weight. And then you try for 10 on the next weight. And then once you can do more on that next weight, then you move up to the higher weight. So it takes a little bit of practice to know what weight you can possibly manage. Most people do not go right to the limit that they should. You should be straining. It should be challenging towards the end. That's actually what a lot of people are missing when it comes to building muscle. The idea is to just keep pushing your muscles to grow by giving them a more challenging stimulus. Beginners in your first year of consistent weight training can get muscle building and strength development with practically anything. You'll see the most muscle growth during this phase too. That's why it's called newbie gains. Then when you're intermediate, say from the first year to about 3 years, it gets a little different. Once you're advanced, I would say about 3 to 5 years of consistent training, then it takes a lot more to stimulate those muscles to grow. That's a really rough guideline, and it really depends on how consistent you are and whether you've been following a solid, structured program, ideally from a coach or with a personal trainer who's given you good foundations. Some people will be in and out of the gym for 20 years and they still won't really know what they're doing, and they wonder why they aren't seeing any fat loss. Now, that could be issues with their training, but very often it comes down to nutrition. It's always the hard part, isn't it? I actually talked to a woman at my gym the other day, and I had given her my YouTube channel to have a look at because she was interested. And she said, it's great content. The diet's the hard part. And I agree. For most of my clients, that's always the hard part. They pretty much enjoy exercise most of the time. And this particular woman too, she's in the gym all the time. She's working hard, but the nutrition is the hard part when it comes to fat loss, especially for those of us who enjoy exercise, at least most of the time. In beginners or people who have at least 30 pounds to lose, you might be able to get away with eating the same as what you're eating now at maintenance. But most people will need to be in a slight calorie deficit to lose fat and build some muscle at the same time. That's what most people want, body recomposition. I usually tell my clients that my goal is to help them build muscle and lose fat. And most of them can do that at the same time because they might not have had a structured program before and they haven't been doing it consistently enough. It's important to do progressive resistance training between 2 and 5 times a week. Now, often as we get older, our recovery is not as good, so you might want to cut that down. So maybe it's only 3 or 4 days if you have been enjoying 5 days a week. And then your muscles have more of a chance to recover and grow, because that's also very important. Your muscles grow during your days off. They're not growing while you're training, although they get the pump, but you're actually tearing them down. And then as you rebuild, they come back stronger. Now, to get that fat loss, you want to find ways to reduce your overall calories that aren't too much of an effort for you. I'm going to give you some practical tips to do that. You don't actually have to count calories or track macros to lose fat, but in my experience, having some awareness of those things really matters. It's a very helpful educational process, and I recommend most of my clients do it for at least 3 weeks. That knowledge will stay in the back of your head and help you make better decisions in the future. People are often pleasantly surprised at how low the calories are for things like vegetables and fruit. Things like nuts and avocado, while very healthy, are very calorie dense. A lot of calories packed into a tasty package. Cashews have about 160 calories in a quarter cup. Macadamia nuts, which are my favorite, just over 200 calories for 10 to 12 nuts, nearly 20 calories for one nut. And I feel like I could eat the whole bag sometimes. But I don't. I do measure, and that's more for digestive reasons, because eating a lot of nuts can also be very hard on your digestion. And of course, reducing ultra-processed foods like pastries, chips, French fries, cookies, and soda pop or soft drinks or fizzy drinks, whatever you call them where you live, is an easy way to drop your calories. That doesn't mean eliminating those foods altogether, because most people can't do that long term. I certainly don't plan to give up chocolate, ice cream, or fresh, soft-baked chocolate chip cookies forever. But that doesn't mean I eat them all the time. But I do have a small treat most days to keep any potential cravings at bay. Because if you want to lower your body fat percentage and maintain it, the way you're eating has to be sustainable for you. And to naturally lower your calorie intake without tracking anything, you want to eat more low calorie density foods like vegetables and fruit to fill yourself up and for your health. Try to stick primarily to non-calorie or low-calorie liquids most of the time. Water, of course, but also coffee and tea I really like my green tea, so I usually have a few cups a day. I've actually got one here with me right now. You also want to reduce your treat foods, but have a plan to include them strategically because, as I said, giving them up is not really an option. And then protein should also play a key role in your nutrition plan. You need it for muscle maintenance and growth. It keeps you fuller for longer. It helps stabilize your blood sugar levels, so you're less likely to succumb to cravings. Protein is also more thermogenic than fat or carbs, so your body uses more energy to digest it. That's more calories burned. And to lower your body fat percentage, you want to focus primarily on lean protein sources, meaning they're lower in fat and calories and have more protein per serving. If you pick up the Lean and Strong Protein Plan at the link in the description, you'll get my protein recommendations for people over 40, a list of the best lean protein sources, and a sample meal plan for 150 grams of protein per day. And if you're really serious about fat loss and have a specific goal of 15 to 20%, find out the 5 rules you need to follow in this video here.